All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week. It is time to do yet another mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. Last week, I did my first ever mock draft of 2024, and it was just a 3-round mock draft. In today's video, we're going to be upgrading and doing a 5-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. As I mentioned, I do this every single week. There'll be a new mock draft up until draft day. So if that does interest you and you want more Packers news, analysis, and updates for free agency, the draft, salary cap, you can find it all here right on this channel. We just hit 50,000 subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. To be able to have the platform that I have and do the thing that I love is made possible by you guys. Every single one of you that watches the videos, leaves a like, leaves a comment, clicks the subscribe button. You guys make this possible and allow me to talk about the Green Bay Packers, which is what I love doing. So again, out of the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for making this possible. So for this mock draft, obviously it's different from last week. Not only that I'm going to be doing a 5-round mock draft, but the fact that the Packers have their new defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley. And this could mean a concept change for this defense. More of a cover one, aggressive man coverage style of defense could be in the future of the Green Bay Packers. So now more than ever, the Packers are going to have to figure out a safety position, a deep safety. If they're going to be running a lot of cover one, they're going to need a guy back there that can cover ground, can offer support over the top, and stop things across the middle as well as a box safety to come down into the box and support against the run. And then, of course, a nickel corner. The Packers are obviously going to run a lot of nickel. They're going to be running that 4-2-5 defense. You know, the Packers already were running that. They're running the 2-4-5, which is the same thing. It's just essentially marking your edge guys as either defensive ends or outside linebackers. At the end of the day, the Packers are likely going to have 4 defensive linemen rushing after the passer, a couple linebackers, and a nickel corner. Before we get this mock draft started, I want to talk to you guys about today's video sponsor, BetUS. Super Bowl 58 is next weekend. If you want some inside info and picks advice from award-winning sports bettors before the big game, go over to BetUS Picks and Predictions channel on YouTube or hit the link down in the description below. They have you covered. They have tons of different game previews and predictions for every game over there on that YouTube channel, so definitely check it out and click subscribe. And also, using my link down in the description will get you a 125% deposit match, and that's up to $2,500. So if you were to deposit $100, then you'll have $225 to play around with, and you can make some really cool bets on the Super Bowl and future things such as NFL draft and many other NFL bets. But of course, they have other things to bet on, such as baseball, basketball, and a live casino. So again, go and subscribe to BetUS Picks and Predictions over there on YouTube and get a 125% deposit match with my link down in the description. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. All right, so now let's dive into my second official 2024 Green Bay Packers mock draft. Again, this is going to be a 5-round mock draft. Not going to include trades just yet. I want to at least get to a couple 7-rounders before we start including trades in the mock draft. So bringing up the screen here, we're going to get through the picks until the Packers pick at 25. All right, so let's quickly go over the picks that happened. The same as last mock draft, the Bears selected Drake May with the first overall pick. Again, that would just be absolutely hilarious if after all the talk of the trade down or them potentially drafting Caleb Williams, they go and draft another quarterback from North Carolina. I mean, the joke would write itself. Caleb Williams to the Commanders, Marvin Harrison to the Patriots, Brock Bowers to the Cardinals, Malik Neighbors to the Chargers, Cooper DeJean to the Giants, Joe Alt to the Titans, Nate Wiggins to the Bears again, Fuaga here to the Jets, Newton to the Vikings, Fashanu to the Broncos, Jaden Daniels to the Raiders, Bo Nix to the Saints, Terrion Arnold to the Colts here, J.C. Latham to the Seahawks, Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Jags, Latu to the Bengals, Jared Verse to the Rams, Dallas Turner to the Steelers, Marius Mims to the Dolphins, Brian Thomas to the Eagles, Jackson Powers Johnson to the Texans. So he's been climbing up boards. I mean, this was a guy you could get in the second round of last week's mock draft, and we did in our mock draft. Now he's going before the Packers pick consistently. He very well could be a first-round draft selection. He's definitely the best center available. Watching his film, man, it's just someone I would love to see in Green Bay, but he might go before a pick. Then finally, Braylon Trice, edge, goes to Dallas, the pick before us. So we're on the clock here at 25. Some players available: wide receiver Troy Franklin, cornerback Ennis Rakestraw, who is undergoing, I believe, ankle surgery, so he could continue to fall. Jordan Morgan, Michael Penix, Byron Murphy, Quinion Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Kamari Lassiter, Tyler Guyton, Chris Braswell. So the Packers very well could go with someone like Jordan Morgan, who has a ton of snaps at left tackle, only allowed 2 sacks last year for Arizona. It looks like Bakhtiari is kind of 1 foot out the door, and the Packers are probably going to cut him before March, but I think Rasheed Walker is the future at left tackle. And I don't think the Packers draft a tackle in round 1. Do they draft a tackle in this draft? Yeah, probably. They probably draft multiple on offensive linemen in this draft, but I don't know if they'd spend their first overall pick on a tackle unless it was someone like Fuaga who could go in and play guard, right? So Jordan Morgan wouldn't be my pick here at 25. Rakestraw, I do really like, but he is undergoing surgery. So will he be ready? And we kind of need a ready now cornerback if we're going to get one in the first round. The Packers don't need a wide receiver. I feel like it's the first year in a long time we've been able to say that. Obviously, not going to draft Penix here. Byron Murphy is definitely an option on the defensive line for sure. The Packers now have a new defensive coordinator, so getting someone down low like Byron Murphy would add a lot. But the player I have my eyes on most is Quinion Mitchell from Toledo. And this week of Senior Bowl practice, this guy has been very impressive, and he is flying up boards. A 6 foot, 196-pound cornerback here. And we see his PFF grades of the last 2 years. I mean, a 91.5 both years, ahead of that, right? So 91.5 last year. He only allowed 27 receptions on 62 targets, allowed 0 touchdowns, had an interception. He allowed a 51.1 pass rating. Last year, even better. He only allowed 27 receptions on 70 targets, allowed 3 touchdowns, had 5 interceptions, and allowed a 34.8 passer rating. He's primarily an outside cornerback. The Packers could use another one, especially if this new defense, what if they want to put Jair into the slot, and move him around and have him follow the slot wide receiver and have Valentine and someone like Quinion Mitchell on the outside. I really like the look of that. He has all of his snaps outside over the last 3 years. Obviously, he has some snaps in the slot, but mainly, this guy is an outside cornerback. Coverage grade of a 91.6, also a good run defense grade, 76.1. Very low completion percentage on him, 43.5%. Man coverage grade, 88.7. We know the Packers likely want to start playing more man coverage. Also a good zone coverage grade. This guy can really do it all. And yes, he plays lesser talent being from Toledo, but he is flying up boards. And I do think he's going to be a day 1 cornerback. So for the first pick in the second mock draft of the season, we are going Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. Now we're back on the board at pick 51. Some players available. TJ Tampa. Obviously, we just went with a cornerback there, so we wouldn't really go TJ Tampa here. I like Quinion Mitchell better than him anyways. We have the tackle from Yale here. Not going to try to pronounce his last name just yet, but he plays, majority left tackle. He's allowed 0 sacks over the last 2 seasons. That's definitely an option. We have Chris Jenkins. I believe I saw a comment saying this is Cullen Jenkins' cousin or nephew or something of that sort, which is really cool. So definitely an option there to bring Cullen Jenkins' family onto Green Bay would be awesome. He's 6'3", 305, so could fit right in at defensive tackle if the Packers are going to run a 4-man front. We have another tackle in Graham Barton here, who allowed 2 sacks last year, mainly at left tackle as well. There's some wide receivers like Xavier Leggett, Chop Robinson on the edge, Patrick Paul, but we also still see Tyler Nubin here. And in last mock, I was kind of up in the air with Tyler Nubin or Cameron Kitchens, but now that the Packers are going to likely be playing more 1 deep, I think Tyler Nubin would be the better fit. I think he can cover more ground. I think he's better in zone coverage, but he also can break up a ball, and he's a physical type of safety that can come downhill and make a tackle and help support in the run game. So they could either, play him deep or put him in the box if they need him to. And I think this is awesome value here at pick 41. And getting 2 defensive backs, those are the 2 positions that are the most need for the Green Bay Packers, in my opinion, is safety and cornerback. Safety more so than cornerback, but I think no safeties even have been drafted in this mock draft yet. It seems like Kitchens, Nubin are kind of 1A and 1B. It's just depending where you want to take them. But if you look at Nubin's stats last year, a 90.1 coverage grade, forced incompletion rate of 20%, an 89.2 PFF grade. He had 43 tackles with only 6 missed. As we see here, he's mainly been a deep safety, but he can play some box as well, so he has some versatility there. You could put him in the slot if you really need him to, but he's best at safety there. We see run stops. He had 10. Passer rating allowed, only a 39.6 passer rating allowed 2 touchdowns, but had 5 interceptions. He's 6'2", 210, a rangy type of safety that can cover up some ground. Not the fastest guy, but great in zone coverage, and he does know where he's supposed to be. So with pick 41, we're going to double dip into the defensive backfield and really start to transform this defense into that one deep look with Tyler Nubin, Quinion Mitchell being a great man-to-man corner. I think this could transform the defensive backfield getting these two guys. So at pick 41, we are going Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. So now we're back on the board at pick 57. There's some options here. You have Jalen Polk, you have Jonathan Brooks, Jatavian Sanders at tight end. You have the tackle here from BYU. But the three players I have my eyes on the most, Edgerrin Cooper, T'Vondre Sweat, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I really, really like Sweat. Seeing him at these practices this last week, this guy just moves people. I mean, 6'4", 362 pounds. This is a guy that I think the Packers desperately need to help against the run. Putting someone like T'Vondre Sweat down low in that defensive line, I mean, run defense grade, 92.0. Run stop rate, 12.8%. But also can get after the passer, has 2 sacks last year, 26 hurries. I think he would just be that one more piece that the Packers do need at that defensive line spot. But then there's also linebacker, where it's like, I think Devondre Campbell isn't going to be a Packer next year. And I think he's going to be a post-June 1st designated cut. So you could go with someone like Edgerrin Cooper, who was great last year, but there are some character concerns there, supposedly. Then you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr., of course, son of Jeremiah Trotter, who was an excellent linebacker. You could go him here. It's a very hard pick for me because I like all three of these guys here. All right, so I think I made my decision, and it comes down to a couple things. The Packers are going to be in nickel more than base, right? So they very well could be fine with just Quay Walker out there, but here's another thing. Jeff Hafley was the coach at Boston College when Isaiah McDuffie was starting inside linebacker, and I think he's set to make another jump, and I think he will be linebacker number 2 going into this year, and I would love to have Trotter or Cooper on this team, but I don't think I can pass up having someone like T'Vondre Sweat, probably the best run defensive lineman in this class, or arguably 6'4", 362 pounds. I mean, like I said, search up this guy's film from last week's practice, and you'll see him just move some of the top offensive linemen in this draft class. And I think the Packers having that on their defensive line would be massive. So at pick 57, I am going to go T'Vondre Sweat, defensive lineman from Texas. So we're back on the clock here in round 3 with picks 88 and 91. And I know what you're thinking, 3 straight defensive picks. Let's go on offense with these next 2 picks. And I'm in the same boat. So with pick 88, he's at the top of the board. It's Trey Benson, running back from Florida State. 6'1", 223 pounds, explosive, tough runner, yards after contact, right? Last year, you see 905 yards, 14 touchdowns. The year before that, 994 yards, 9 touchdowns. Also, used in the receiving game. He had 20 receptions last year for 227 yards, an 87.2 rushing grade, 89.4 gap grade, and elusive rating of 106.4. As we see here, 551 yards after contact, 45 missed tackles forced. The Packers do have a need at running back, and although Aaron Jones is going to be back for 2024, at least that's what Brian Gutekunst said, they're going to need a guy for the future. And as of right now, they may not bring back A.J. Dillon, so they're going to need a solid running back 2 behind Aaron Jones for at least this year. And someone like Trey Benson, I think that would be an awesome role for him year 1. Get put into this offense, use him when you need him, an explosive, tough type of runner, and I think he's going to be a great running back in the NFL. He has the prototypical size, 6'1", 223 pounds. He's still only 21 and a half years old. He hasn't played that many games where you're going, okay, this guy has been used a lot at the college level. What does he have left to give at the NFL level? I think Trey Benson is an awesome pick here at pick 88. The Packers have a need at running back, so at pick 88, we are going Trey Benson, running back from Florida State. And the next pick at 91, we're going to waste no more time and go offensive line. I think it's about time we go O-line. The Packers tend to do really well in rounds 3 to 4 to 5 for offensive linemen, and Cooper Beebe is someone that screams Green Bay Packer to me, and this guy is a absolute mauler in the run game, and I think that's what the Packers need to add to that offensive line. 6'4", 335 pounds, a senior, kind of a surprise he went back to school last year, maybe could have been in the draft last year, got another year under his belt and had an excellent year, only allowed 2 sacks last year. The 2 years before that allowed 0 sacks. We see his run block grade at 79.9, also an even better pass block grade at 90.4. He's taken pretty much all of his snaps the last 2 years at left tackle. He has some at right tackle this year. And then in 2021, he played some left tackle. So he's going to line up as a guard in the NFL, but he has some versatility there. And we know how the Packers love their versatile players. And like I said, this guy just screams Green Bay Packer to me. They need to add some competition inside for Sean Rhyan, or if they bring back John Runyon. But this would allow the Packers to move on from John Runyon. Bring in Cooper Beebe, have him compete at guard against Sean Rhyan or whoever you have there at that moment, and he very well could win the job. And I know it would be getting another guard in the 3rd round, just like you did Sean Rhyan, but you can never have enough guys on that offensive line. And of course, competition. So at pick 91, after going Trey Benson a few picks before, we are going Cooper Beebe, guard from Kansas State. Here at pick 125, we have 2 more picks at 125 and 135. And I think I'm going to address linebacker here since we haven't done it yet. And I skipped out on that going T'Vondre Sweat. I skipped out on Cooper and Trotter. And a player that's obvious here at 125 as of right now is J.D. Bertrand, linebacker from Notre Dame. Bertrand shows sideline to sideline playmaker ability, but can also get after the passer if you want to blitz him. He's a 6'1", 233-pound linebacker. We see his run defense grade last year, 77.5, overall grade of 82.4. He's played a lot of snaps over the last 3 seasons. He had 41 tackles with 13 missed, so a little bit of a missed tackle issue, kind of a 15.5 missed tackle rate. But overall, the Packers are going to need to add depth into that linebacker room. And I think someone like J.D. Bertrand in the 4th round here is a good add to this front 7. As I mentioned earlier, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, likely the 2 linebackers, and the Packers very well could add a free agent. But, getting more depth here after likely Devondre Campbell is cut, I think is a must in this draft to get some depth. So I'm going to go J.D. Bertrand here at pick 125 out of Notre Dame. So here in our final pick at pick 135, right now the Packers don't have a 5th round pick. Now they could get a 5th round comp pick from Allen Lazard signing with the Jets, but that's not updated and that's not official yet. So as of right now, it's not listed. And here at pick 135, I'm going to double dip into the safety room and go with someone like Malik Mustafa, who is a very intriguing prospect, especially here in the 4th round. I mean, this guy, if you like to think the Packers draft athletes, then this is your guy. In a game, Mustafa reached 23 miles per hour. If you don't know, that's extremely, extremely fast. This guy plays super fast, but also aggressive. And where he's best is press, when he gets his hands on the wide receiver. And that's what the Packers are going to want to do. And when you look at his lineup, he played 327 snaps in the box, the majority in the box, right? 144 in the slot and 163 deep. So this is a guy you can move around, you can press up on wide receivers or on tight ends. And although he's 5'11", 207, this guy plays a lot bigger, but is also extremely fast and an aggressive tackler. 87.5 run defense grade, 72.1 coverage grade. Last year, an overall grade of 79.7 there. Had 62 tackles, 11 missed. 5 coverage stops, 21 run stops, with tied for 23rd in the nation, a 79.0 passer rating allowed, had an interception, and 3 forced incompletions. Mustafa is a safety I would love to see thrown into this Jeff Hafley defense along with Tyler Nubin. I think adding Nubin and Mustafa would just completely transform that safety room, kind of similar to what they did last year at tight end, getting 2 different type of guys, right, with Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. I think getting Nubin and Mustafa at safety and running this defense that Hafley wants to run with these guys, and then also the cornerback with Quinion Mitchell and defensive lineman T'Vondre Sweat, man, adding so much talent to this defense. And I know we've continued to do that, but nonetheless, give Hafley the weapons he needs to run this defense. And I think Mustafa out of Wake Forest is one of them. So for the final pick in this 5-round mock draft, we are going Malik Mustafa, safety from Wake Forest. All right, so that does it for my second mock draft of 2024 for the Green Bay Packers. This one was a 5-round mock draft. So let's quickly go over the picks. This is after the hiring of Jeff Hafley at defensive coordinator, and we went out and got some ball players to add to this defense, but also touched up the offense just a little bit in places of need. First pick, Quinion Mitchell at cornerback, a primary outside cornerback. Senior Bowl practices this week. This guy has been super impressive, and I would love to add him to this defense. Maybe allow Jair to go play nickel more. Then you have Carrington Valentine, Mitchell, maybe Stokes, but nonetheless, you can't count on Stokes, so you get a guy in the first round, and that would be Quinion Mitchell, corner from Toledo. In the second round, we snagged Tyler Nubin. Last mock draft, we went Cameron Kitchens. That was before the new defensive coordinator. I think Tyler Nubin now is a better fit for this new Packers defense. If they're going to be running more one deep, cover one looks, I think Nubin is your guy, and I think that's tremendous value at pick 41. Then at pick 57, we went to Vondre Sweat, probably the best run defensive lineman in this draft class. I mean, this guy is big, I think 365 pounds, and an immovable force. I mean, watching the Senior Bowl practices, this guy is just moving some of these top offensive linemen, and you're going, wow. Like, I implore you guys to go check it out. You could probably just search up Vondre Sweat practice reps or something, because this guy is just crazy powerful, and I think it would be an amazing add at pick 57. That one guy I think they're missing on that defensive line. Then at pick 88, we go Trey Benson, the prototypical running back, 6'1", I think 225 pounds, right? Physical, tough runner, and a potential running back one of the future. The Packers need depth there. Aaron Jones is going to be turning, I think, 30 or 29 years old this next season, so you're going to need a plan for the future, and I think Trey Benson would be a very good plan for the future. And at pick 91, we go Cooper Beebe here, guard, mauler, run blocker, right? This is a guy that I think the Packers also need in the interior of that offensive line to go out there and smack someone in the face in the run game, right? Cooper Beebe just screams Green Bay Packer. I think it would be an awesome pick here in the third round. In the fourth round, we go J.D. Bertrand. They're going to need depth at linebacker, sideline to sideline type of linebacker, but can also blitz, so you could use them in that way. They're going to need depth. I still think it's going to be Quay Walker, McDuffie, and maybe a free agent, but you're going to need another guy in there, and getting Bertrand in the fourth round I think is decent value. And then at pick 135, this is one of my favorite picks, because Malik Mustafa is a guy I really like and I would love to see in this defense. And it gets even better if you add him to Tyler Nubin, because they do two different things. It's like a yin and yang situation, like a Musgrave and Kraft, where it's like you're getting two solid athletes, but they do different things. And Mustafa, probably one of the fastest defensive backs this year. When the pro days and combine comes around, you guys will see that, because he reached 23 miles an hour in one of the games this year. So it's absolutely insane. He's a physical type of safety. You can press him up to the line. That's where he's at his best. You can put him in the box. You can put him at slot. And this is a guy that can make a play. So those are all my picks for this Green Bay Packers 5-round mock draft. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, I'll be here next week to do another mock draft. Might do a 7-round, maybe another 5-round. We'll see. Let me know what you want down in the comments. But that about does it for this one. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.